welcome back to Broken Silence. I'm Sonia Gardez. Premarital sex, infidelity, drinking. Most Asians pretend like we're not doing it, or if we have, that we want to keep that part of our lives very, very secret and hidden. However, joining me today is a very honest and open author, Sophia Hyatt, who discusses all this and more in her book, Dishonored. Sophia, thank you for joining us. And once again, I really applaud your bravery because this is our second series of Broken Silence, and we have learned firsthand that although everything that you discussed in your book, whether it's incest and molestation, whether it's getting an abortion, whether it's premarital sex, drinking, the way you choose to dress or express yourself, everybody can relate, but not everybody wants to come and talk about it. And until we can start being honest about it and discussing it openly, nothing is going to change. Yeah. Without going into too much detail, because there's so much in this book that I want to talk about, you talk about your father's infidelity. Mm-hmm. And earlier we were talking about, we're working on a show about infidelity. Yeah. And I was saying that if you ever go out to a bar or a club, a lot of the guys that come up to you and approach you are married men. Yeah. Married Asian men. And it's okay, you know, it's kind of accepted. And especially in our parents' generation, a lot of the husbands had mistresses that the wives knew about and were okay with. And in your family, that was the case, and your mother was quite complacent about that as well.
Well, I don't think she liked it. She didn't want it to happen, but she had to accept it, really. She had 6 children. There was nothing she could do about it.
I think that's part of a generation that she was part of. Yeah. Now, after reading your book, I kind of felt for your mom and dad because, you know, they had just arrived in this brand new country. Yeah. And coming from Pakistan and coming to the UK, they're completely different cultures. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that's similar in those two cultures. You know, they're just as opposite can be. Yeah. And my parents moved to America from Pakistan, and so I can relate to that struggle. Yeah. And I could see how your parents would want to protect you. Yeah. And I could also relate to your desire to express who you are. Yeah. I mean, I'm also in media, and it's not one of those professions that parents very willingly and encouragingly push you into. Yeah. Do you think that, you know, I mean, obviously there's got to be young Asian girls that look up to you and might want to emulate the stuff that you've done and your achievements. What advice would you have for somebody who finds themselves in a household that's conservative, where they're not allowed to dress the way they want to, date who they want to, and possibly not encouraged to be part of the performing arts?
Well, I think the first thing is to educate themselves. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important. The only way out of my house was to go to university. And university not only educated me in the subject I was studying, but it also gave me an education of life. And my mind opened. I remember before I went to university, if I saw an Asian girl dressed like this, or with a guy from a different culture, she was a slag. That's the way I was brought up to think. I remember thinking like that.
So do you think that we're encouraged to be judgmental? You know,
absolutely.
Especially Asian girls. Yeah. It's just embedded that if you see a girl wearing a certain outfit, being open about who she is, she's automatically...
She's a slag. She sleeps around. Yeah. And in fact, the girls that do dress like that are probably the hardest girls that you can go out with. I remember when I had another TV show, and I was filming in nightclubs, predominantly Asian. And I just left home as well. First of all, I didn't know Asian clubs existed because I never did that sneaking out, going to the day gigs. I didn't even know they existed. Right. I remember filming, and I'd gone to the toilet, and I saw a girl in hijab snogging this guy like they needed to get a room.
At a club?
Yeah. And she had the hijab, everything completely covered up. That was something I would never have done at the age of 15, 16, 17, 18.
But then did you judge her and say that?
No, I just went, wow. You know, because what we're doing, I mean, for me, it was like you see a girl in a hijab, we judge her because that's what we were brought up to judge. She's a good girl, she prays, and she's religious. Mm-hmm.
You know, the name Dishonored of your book has a negative connotation with that word, dishonored.
I don't think it does. I've actually had that word tattooed on my spine.
I was just going to ask you that you've got a tattoo of that word on your spine.
I think it's a phenomenal word. I had to be dishonored by my family and my culture to be who I am, and I love who I am. Therefore, being dishonored was the best thing I did in my life.
Which leads me to my next question. If, you know, most Asian girls that are watching us today, that are living in the UK or any Western society, did the things that, you know, you ultimately ended up doing, they would also be dishonored.
Yeah.
And so it's although it's isolated in the sense that you were open about this,
yeah.
that you're honest about this, which I keep saying is really commendable. But I also think that any Asian girl, whether it's me, whether it's somebody watching us, if they were, you know, dressing explicitly, being open about who they were dating and you know, who they were with, would then be dishonored.
Yeah.
So is this book kind of encouraging girls to,
no, it's showing,
you know,
it's showing a journey. I mean, it's not encouraging girls to do what I did. It's just showing a journey. It's showing you everything. It's saying if you do this, this could possibly be your repercussions.
But look, you're successful now. You're a beautiful woman. You're you know, attained a certain level of success. So, you know, reading this as a grown adult, I probably wouldn't be as impressionable about the things that have happened. However, reading this as a 17-year-old who's just coming into her own, I would think that if I want to be as successful as Sophia and as accomplished, I've got to do X, Y, and Z. And part of that would be leaving my family and being true to myself.
Yeah.
And
can I just say, if every girl out there who had those feelings inside did that, then Dishonored would be something that would slowly become extinct.
Which is my reasoning for doing this particular show, because your book questions every Asian notion, you know, not necessarily value, because I don't even know how to define what an Asian value would be, but you know, the concepts, which is being conservative and modest and being a virgin until you get married. So
God, that's frightening.
so
being a virgin until you get married.
You know, I don't know if we're ready to make that change. I mean,
but I don't think the book is saying to people make that change. The book is showing people someone who did make that change in her own way.
Yeah.
It's showing the repercussions. So someone who reads that will say, actually, I don't want my mum to try and kill me. I don't want this, so maybe I won't do that. But for me, I believe in following your dreams. We have one life. We have one soul. And if I want to love someone who's a different color or a different culture, I should be allowed to do that. God made each and every single one of us.
See, I completely agree with you on that. I mean, I am all about living your dreams. I'm all about being who you are and being really authentic about it. And you don't choose who you fall in love with. You just do.
Yeah.
However, even saying all of that stuff, you know, and I think about the future and having kids, I wonder what part of the Asian culture I'm going to take and what part of the Western culture I'm going to take and how I'm going to make that my own. And this actually is the first book that I read where, you know, you are really, where it's that raw, you know, whether it's really, really that raw. I mean, you talk about having an abortion, and I know so many girls who have had...
My mum doesn't know that yet. I mean, she hasn't actually read the book, even though I have interviewed her for it, which actually brought us a lot closer in the process of writing the book.
Does she get a better understanding of who you are as a person?
She hasn't actually read the book, but I interviewed her to get information from her for the book.
Yeah.
My sister's read it. I've been quite honest with my sister over the years. I think if my mum found out about the abortion, she would be, I think it would kill her if she found out about the fact that I've got love scenes in films, which I don't know if she knows, but I've got a film in India at the moment where I've got a love scene. I think that would kill her. But as far as the abortion is concerned, I found out as an adult that my mum had an abortion while she was married to my father. So it's a weird thing. It should bring us together, but you know, abortion isn't something that any woman, I have to say, takes lightly. I was in a relationship for 2 years. He wanted me to have a baby, and then he decided he didn't want it.
The scenario that you describe is horrific.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
you know,
nothing is easy.